Fake news is nothing new, but today it's bigger than ever. This past presidential election was one of the biggest, most controversial elections that America has ever seen in its history as a democracy. The controversy was created by Donald Trump, a successful businessman who decided to run for president because he was unhappy with the job of the government that they had been doing in Washington, D.C. More Americans supported him than others thought, which allowed him to win over the Republican National Committee. This made other candidates, such as Hillary Clinton, who looked like a shoo-in for president at the beginning of her campaign, nervous. To try and diffuse the momentum that Trump had, Hillary Clinton went to the mainstream media to bring him down with his past and fake news. To counter this, Trump took to the media to defend himself and go back at Clinton. This made people wonder what really is the truth. The term fake news became extremely popular not just on social media, but news channels on television and newspapers. Clinton and this entire election exposed the mainstream media and showed how it is brought by candidates or parties and ran by them. They only report on stories that will positively affect their party and their candidates. Many government officials and media outlets decided to pick sides of who they were supporting. One of the examples of a government leader picking sides is Elizabeth Warren, a Democrat who openly supported Hillary Clinton by bashing Donald Trump on Twitter several times. All media networks usually lean towards a political side, but in this election, it was very pronounced whose side what networks were on. Fox News has been known to be very conservative, while CNN and MSNBC have known to be very liberal. The following clip is an example of CNN favoring former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton.
Doing what they call in politics freezing pockets, because the donors are giving her money thinking she's going to run. That means they're not going to have available money for other candidates if she doesn't, and I don't think she's going to give it to them.
She's on her way to deciding.
We'll see.
About deciding.
We couldn't help her any more than we have.
I know.
You know what I mean? She's got just a free ride so far from the media. We're the biggest ones promoting her campaign.
Examples like this video are the reason that people call CNN Corrupt News Network and Clinton News Network. News networks during the election would bring on guest speakers to speak in favor of the candidate that the network supported. But when they did the opposite of that, networks would be angry and cut them off. This was seen multiple times throughout the time of the presidential election. A great example of this is when CNN anchor Don Lemon is interviewing Milwaukee Sheriff David Clarke. When Sheriff Clarke takes a Republican conservative viewpoint on a topic being discussed, Black Lives Matter, Don Lemon and him get into a heated argument. Eventually, Don Lemon just cuts to commercial while the argument gets heated.
Fox Business News host Stuart Varney asked Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke about his volatile interview on CNN in which Don Lemon cut off the sheriff when the discussion became heated.
You were interviewed on CNN very recently, and as I read it, you were shut down. I think they cut your mic and almost chucked you off the set. What happened?
Well, they didn't shut my mic. Don Lemon there went to a break because he got flustered because I came with him with some stuff that he wasn't ready for. Look,
my message has been clear from day one 2 years ago. This anti-cop sentiment from this hateful ideology called Black Lives Matter has fueled this rage against the American police officer. I predicted this 2 years ago. So what I want to know,
okay, Sheriff.
do I want to know?
With all due respect, do you know that this was because of that?
Yes, I do.
As a law enforcement officer?
I've been watching this for 2 years. I predicted this. This anti-police rhetoric sweeping the country has turned out some hateful things inside of people that are now playing themselves out on the American police officer. I want to know, with all of the black-on-black violence in the United States of America, by the way, when the tragedies happened in Louisiana and Minnesota, do you know that 21 black people were murdered across the United States? Was there any reporting on that?
There was a black officer who was killed today. But
was there any reporting on that?
Sheriff, please, let's just keep the volume down here. So I understand, and listen,
I'm looking at 3 dead cops this week,
Sheriff,
and I'm looking at 5 last year. You trying to tell me to keep it down?
If you'll just please, we can keep it civil. So, because the message to people at home, I'm sure you want, is one of civility.
I wish, Don, I wish you had that message of civility
have a conversation
toward this
with you.
hateful ideology, these purveyors of hate.
You don't know what my message is.
That's
what I want to say to you is,
these people preach vile and virtue in the name of hate.
We're going to go to break, and we'll be right back. Are you going to let me talk?
Back to Fox Business News, Sheriff Clark continued to lambaste the liberal media for sympathizing with the BLM ideology.
Look, I'm tired of the liberal mainstream media. Not you, Stu, not Fox Business. The liberal mainstream media, the Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN, who are sympathizers of this hateful ideology, Black Lives Matter. And then all of a sudden when a cop is killed, they feign sympathy. I was not going to sit up there last night and have Don Lemon pander and talk about how horrific a day it was. And so I asked him some very pointed questions. And I said, Don, do you denounce the hateful anti-cop rhetoric coming out of Black Lives Matter? And he wouldn't answer the question. So as far as I'm concerned, that's tacit approval for it.
Throughout this video, you can obviously see the hesitation that Lemon has and is angry at the sheriff. I myself have seen many videos on Facebook and other forms of social media that expose fake news. Political pages will post edited videos of candidates saying things that they did not truly mean because the words are moved around and out of context. Many people believe that this fake news swung the election and that is why Trump was victorious, but I do not believe it did because people began not to listen. In a recent town hall interview with CNN to discuss Hillary Clinton's thoughts on the election results and Trump's job thus far as president, she stated that if the election was earlier, before news reports of her wrongs came out, she would have won. This information was not fake news, as she claimed, but accurate reports that had already had voters in doubt. Although this election could be viewed as dirty to outsiders, I believe that we have to have faith in our country and who we elect as president. Although fake news has become a sad reality, I believe that our future generations will be able to determine what news is real and what news is fake. Although some Americans may not be happy with Trump's first 100 days in office, I believe that we must have faith in our democracy that we live in and other supporting government members.